Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, very much.
Okay. Let me share my screen.
Just hold on, sir. Soumya is anchor for the session,
Okay.
so he'll take over.
Okay.
Okay, Soumya, please go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I, Soumya Dubey, along with my co-host Radhya Anand, warmly welcome you all to today's webinar on CyberShield fighting online stalkers and bullies. Thank you for joining us and demonstrating your commitment to digital safety. This webinar is brought to you by the team project CyberShield of Naksh Foundation. Before we begin, a few quick instructions for participants. Please keep your microphone muted to avoid background disturbances. Switch on your camera when you are in a proper setting. Share your questions in the chat box. They will be addressed during the question and answer session. Kindly note that filling the post-assessment form is mandatory to help us measure your learning and the impact of this session. Now, to lead us into this important discussion, we are deeply honored to host Professor Dr. Sandeep K. Shukla, Director of Triple IT Hyderabad. Professor Dr. Sandeep K. Shukla is one of the nation's foremost cybersecurity experts. Before his leadership at Triple IT Hyderabad, he served as the Rajiv and Ritu Batra Chair Professor for Cybersecurity and headed the Computer Science and Engineering Department at IIT Kanpur. He was also the Poonam and Prabhu Goyal Chair Professor at IIT Kanpur and previously held the professorship at Virginia Tech in the US, following research roles at the University of California at Irvine, GT Labs, and Intel Corporation. Professor Sandeep K. Shukla holds a PhD from the State University of New York at Albany and is recognized globally as an IEEE Fellow and ACM Distinguished Scientist. With more than 2 decades of international experience, Professor Sandeep K. Shukla brings unparalleled insight into both the evolving threats and solutions in our digital lives. Our topic this evening is of urgent importance. As our lives move online, so do new threats, cyberbullying, and online stalking are realities affecting thousands each day. This session aims to empower you. We will unpack the tactics of online abuse, offer practical defense strategies, and highlight the human stories behind the headlines. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the mic to Sir for his insight on this topic. Over to you, Sir.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction, and thank you so much for inviting me to this forum. And I saw Dr. Meenakshi has been, not very happy about the delay, but the delay is totally my fault, not the fault of the organizers. I actually got stuck in another meeting, and that's how the delay, started. So in any case, before, without wasting any more time, let me share my screen and my talk. So this is my okay. So the topic that we are going to talk about is fighting online stalkers and bullies. My student, Gargi Sarkar, who just submitted her PhD thesis, has been working in various aspects of cybercrime and cybercrime prevention and investigation processes, and that's where we have some idea about how this thing unfolds, what should be done, and what are the various legal things that one can do to when somebody faces online stalking and bullies. But we also, as a community, as parents, as teachers, as friends, we have a role to play when this kind of things happen, so that it does not go to an extreme. So I'm going to talk about the different aspects of this online stalking and bullies and so on. So now in today's world, most of you and most of us share a lot of information on social media, on YouTube, on various other channels, and there are a lot of people who are connected to us. They are not necessarily very well known, very much known to us, and therefore a lot of information about us, very personal information, including our emotions, our achievements, our failures, our friends, our breakup, and various other things. All this information, as we have started sharing widely with people who are not known to us, and that is where the problems are starting. So let's define cyber harassment. So what is cyber harassment? It's actually a broad category of crime, or I would say problem that covers aggressive, harmful, and threatening behavior directed at an individual through digital means. So social media, emails, messaging, WhatsApp, forums, mailing lists, and so on. So if you see aggressive, harmful, threatening behavior towards an individual on this forum, on this media, then you know that some cyber harassment is in progress. And it can be once, or it may be repeated. And many of these things are actually happening repeatedly. And examples are like sending abusive messages, spreading rumors, unfounded rumors about somebody online, impersonating somebody, doxing. Doxing means that putting out their home address, their personal phone numbers, etc., out in the open. Unwanted sexual advances towards a person. These are examples of cyber harassment. Now, it encompasses two things that we are going to talk about today: cyberbullying and cyber stalking. Right? So those are different, but they are both, cyber harassment. So cyberbullying, it's a repeated aggressive and hostile behavior on a digital platform, and the intention is to harm, embarrass, or intimidate the victim. The victim will be somebody on the digital medium, and then the aggressor will also be on the digital medium. It may be a news group, it may be a forum, it may be on social media, it could be also WhatsApp groups and stuff like that. Or maybe one-to-one on messaging platforms and so on. And often it is power imbalanced. The one person who is bullying somehow has some power over the other person. It may be a perception. It doesn't have to be really that the other person is powerful, but it is a perception that matters. And examples would be name calling, mocking posts, exclusion from groups, spreading embarrassing photos or rumors. These are cyberbullying examples, but there are many other behaviors which could be also considered cyberbullying. And the effect of this, most of the time it is psychological. People get depressed, anxious, they get suicidal, and I'll tell you some of the incidents that has resulted in suicides and stuff. Humiliation or social exclusion, right? So people get withdrawn. Sometimes because of the various rumors, they get excluded by the others from any kind of group activity and so on. So all those things will have also a psychological effect, and psychological effects sometimes also lead to physical effects, right? So we'll talk about that. Now, cyber stalking, on the other hand, is use of digital technology to persistently monitor, harass, or threaten an individual, often creating fear for their safety or privacy. So here you are not really abusing the other person or intimidating. You are not trying to spread rumors about the other person and things like that, or doing embarrassing, sending embarrassing photos and stuff. But you are actually directly giving the impression to the other person that you are persistently monitoring what they're doing, where they're going, what kind of things they are doing online. And sometimes it actually goes to physical space also. Like sometimes it starts with a digital stalking, but then they also start stalking them physically. The examples are repeatedly sending threatening messages, tracking online, offline activity, hacking accounts, blackmailing, contacting victims' family and friends. This kind of stuff is cyber stalking, control, intimidation, and invasion of privacy. And this is often gender-based. So what you are trying to do to the other person is to actually intimidate the other person, saying that I am watching you all the time, and if you don't come to me, or if you don't listen to me, or if you avoid me, I'm going to do that more, and your safety might not be very, very much guaranteed. So this is the kind of thing that happens in cyber stalking. And physical stalking used to be the main problem, but now cyber stalking is a bigger problem. Now there is a disassociation of people from real world in the cyberspace. So when you are doing cyber stalking, sometimes even the aggressor or the stalker doesn't know that he's stalking. He's just thinking that he's trying to make friend with somebody who doesn't want to be friend with him or her. But they think that, by repeatedly sending messages, repeatedly trying to show that they know more about them, they are actually trying to make friends. But actually it is cyber stalking, and it is actually a really bad thing to do, but people don't understand. Similar with cyber bullying, right? So if you bully somebody in the real world, then other people will see and call out that you're not being very nice to the other person, or you are being intimidating, or things like that. But in the cyber world, people think that take things rather lightly, and therefore cyber bullying is often also not recognized. So let's look at the cyberbullying more. So here is a picture that basically is illustrating that this kid is not wanting to go home because the computer is at home, and he has been bullied through cyberbullying, and therefore he's afraid to go home. But let's see. So here is this story of Ryan Halligan, who committed suicide at the age of 13. So he was a 13-year-old boy. He was like a regular boy with swimming, computer games, instant messaging. He loved these things, ordinary healthy teen. Then Ryan loved being connected, and that's why he got hooked into instant messaging in the summer of 2003 when he was 13 years old. And the family had rules like passwords, no stranger, don't talk to strangers, don't give out personal information, and so on. But these things didn't work, because sometimes bullying comes from people you know. So a classmate who turned friend twisted a joke into a rumor, and spreaded the rumor that he must be gay. And rumor spreaded online and offline, and humiliation went beyond school into cyberspace. And Ryan tried to date a girl online, but this girl also betrayed him. She rejected him in front of friends, and his private messages were copied, posted, mocked, and shared, and public humiliation amplified by technology. So not only he was humiliated in front of friends, his intimate messages to perceived girlfriend were put on display in the cyberspace, and he committed suicide. So folder of his message exchanges were found after his death, and it was found that he was being bullied continuously, and a wider audience watched but didn't do anything about it. And technology here magnified the cruelty of young boys. So consequence was Ryan died by suicide at the age of 13, and his father said that a hole in my heart that will never heal. So parents could not protect him when he needed protection. So if you want to know more about cyberbullying, you can go to, there is a research group, and cyberbullying.org/stories has a lot of these real incidents. They are not.
Sir, unfortunately, you're on mute.
Sir, your mic is off.
How long has it been mic been off?
Just for a few seconds.
Okay, so I don't know how it happened because this is actually
They might have some technical issues. It's okay.
let me go back there. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's visual.
Okay, so here there was a national survey in the US for 13 to 17-year-olds, and this survey surveyed about 3,466, which is a very large number for a survey, and they found that 58.2% teens, they think that they have been bullied on the cyberspace. And then there are 31% who said that someone posted mean or hateful comments about me online and things like that. I'm not going to go through all these things, but you see these numbers are very large. 58%, that is about 60% kids, are saying that they have been cyberbullied in their life. And then this 32%, that is about 1/3, are saying that somebody put hateful stuff online about them. Now, these are very, very cruel things for young minds. If somebody posts something like that, even for us, people who are of advanced age, even then we feel bad. We feel that this is not right. But then as an older person, I can probably handle it. But then the people, they're in their teenage, there is a lot of issues that they have to deal with, and then if other people do this to them, that is not good. But this is how it is. So cyberbullying is bullying on steroids. It's amplified and it is permanent. It stays. Anything you post on the internet, even if you delete it, there are archive websites where it can be found. So it's kind of permanent, and it is public. And teen suicide rates are rising because of bullying, and early warning are often not understood by parents, by teachers, by friends, and this is a big problem, right? So awareness about cyberbullying and awareness that this can happen to our friends or our kids or our relatives and so on. And therefore, if you see a change in their behavior, we must act. That is the thing that we must know. And parents must stay engaged in kids' online lives. Sometimes parents think, especially busy parents, they think that the kid is online, so they are engaged and they're doing something, either they're studying or they're having fun and so on. But they must be engaged, not necessarily they're not necessarily at every step of the way, but at least they should have a very good idea about what the kids are up to. There are technology safety rules, and so they matter, and so does empathy. So teach your kids empathy. So it's not only that your kid could be victim, your kid could be also the aggressor. So therefore, you have to also teach empathy and the rules of good behavior and polite behavior. Schools and policymakers must act urgently, and society must treat cyberbullying as a public health crisis. Now, there was a question, I think I saw that what is Indian government doing, and we'll come to that towards the end. There are certain things that the government has done, but there is a lot more to be done in terms of raising awareness. Parents, teachers, friends, relatives, everybody should be either worry whether their kids are being bullied or their kids are actually bullying, so that both sides are possible. So bullying through technology accelerates and amplifies the hurt. We must respond with urgency and compassion. So prevention from cyberbullying, right? So educate on digital citizenship, right? So real life citizenship, we often abide by certain norms, certain behavioral norms, although that is reducing day by day, but at least we know certain behaviors or certain rules of engagement when we interact with other people, other friends, and so on. But in the digital space, people become rather impersonal, and they do not understand that their words may hurt somebody. So therefore, one has to be highly educated on this digital citizenship by parents, by teachers, by everybody who comes in contact with the kid. Not only kid, I mean, sometimes the bullying happens from older people also. So, but if you start at the young age to educate them, maybe they will be actually become rather conscious about their behavior. Monitor online activities of kids, and both sides. The people who bully also should be monitored. If your kid has a tendency to be bullying, to aggressive, to be abusive, make sure that not go into the cyberspace, and that should not continue even in the real space, because that is not how things should be. Report and block bullies. So we'll talk about more about how to report and so on. Discuss cyberbullying with kids, both sides, because if they may not even understand that what they're doing, it can be categorized as cyberbullying. And later on, we'll talk about the various laws that can apply, and then a kid or a person may be actually brought to justice. Support victims. So sometimes victims are very worried that they brought it onto themselves, and therefore they often do not want to talk about it. They often do not want to say, but they try to continue to convince the other party, that the bullying party, that they are not what the other party is saying, and therefore the engagement continues. So this should be there should be enough support. The kids should be able to come to their parents or teachers to talk about it, and ask for ways to handle this. Enforce penalties. This is a job of the law enforcement, but sometimes it's the job of the parents of the kids who are bullied, or parents of or people who know that somebody is actually bullying. Raise awareness. Awareness is very key, because oftentimes people are not understanding why their kid is becoming depressed or anxious or behaving differently and so on. So awareness could actually let parents diagnose. And parental involvement, this is very important, especially in other countries, Western countries. This is a big problem. In India, it's probably not such a big problem, but this is something that one must think about. Now let's focus on the other problem, that is the cyber stalking. And as you can see in this word cloud, that I know what you did the last summer, kind of thing. I know where you are, this kind of stuff. And you actually change your phone number, get a new device, but they still find how to get to you, and so on and so forth. Smart home technologies are actually ways in which people can actually continue to hack and get to know what you are doing at any point in time, and then tell you that they are seeing you and things like that, spywares, etc. So those kind of things are rather more advanced cyber stalking. But even just continuously messaging and continuously going and commenting on a particular one person's posts on Instagram or Facebook or any other social media could also be low technology, but it could be also considered cyber stalking. Now, the perpetrators of cyber stalking are often male, rather commonly male, but female also sometimes. But in most cases, females are when there is an intimate partner who has been estranged, so stalking them. But this is just a statistical question. There are exceptions where you could have a very strong female stalker, or it may have a very strong male stalker, and so on. Now, the predictors of this is the males. If they're Machiavellian. Machiavellian means that they have been kind of trained to get what they want by hook or crook. They have not been considered, they have not been taught to consider other people's feeling to achieve, and they have been told, or they have been, or by nature, they actually want to achieve things, even if they want to achieve somebody's romance, want to become somebody's romantic interest. They want to achieve that even if the other person do not want to do that. So that's a Machiavellism. Narcissism, sometimes some people are narcissists. They think very highly of themselves, and they cannot imagine that somebody would reject them as a possible romantic partner or whatever, their friend or whatever. They might have attachment issues. They might be angry for other reasons, from home related issues, or they may be aggressive. Females, it is usually not Machiavellism, Willianism, but it is narcissism, jealousy, sexual abuse history, anger, intimacy, discomfort, etc. So it is very difficult to say what is actually triggering them to become cyber stalker, right? So a normal person, if somebody else is not interested in them, they normally would move on and go for making friends or making partners with somebody else. But there are people who get very, very obsessed with a particular person, and then they start doing stalking. And in today's world, they actually often do cyber stalking. So characteristics of the victim of cyber stalking, right? So what we spoke about in the last slide was characteristics of the perpetrator of cyber stalking, people who are doing cyber stalking. But who are the victims? So one thing that you have to be very active online, right? Otherwise, you cannot be cyber stalked. You must be putting a lot of information about yourself. You must be posting regularly, etc. And therefore, you are creating the other person aware of you, and also they are having a chance to engage you through the comments, through the other ways of interaction. You also be somebody who use the internet very, very frequently and prolonged, so that the engagement is more possible. And also, if they know that you are, if the perpetrator knows that you are actually very much engaged into the social media or the internet, they will know that they can get your attention through that, right? And then this often happens to experienced internet user. You would think that that is somebody who is just using internet in a naive way or novice way, they are going to be actually victimized. No, this cyber stalking has been found to be more common with people who are rather good with internet use or rather experienced with internet use. So the other characteristics are that location proximity. So normally perpetrator is usually very locally, because they actually know that there is a chance that if they can impress the victim might be able to meet them and so on. If the victim is on the other side of the globe, it's harder. But that also happens. These are all statistical information that we are saying. Exceptions are there. Age, we find mixed, finding that older individuals has a higher odd of victimization, but age also affects the perception of harm. Income and education influence likelihood of victimization. So if you're higher income, higher education, chances of victimization is higher. This is because it is cyber stalking. In real stalking, this may not be exactly like that. Identity factors, non-Caucasians, non-heterosexuals are normally more commonly, at risk. So characteristic of victim continues. So male engage more in risky online behavior, less reporting, more school-related consequences. So when male is the victim is a male, normally they go into risky forums on the internet, or they go into risky behavior, like such as engaging in online sexting, for example, or sexual chats and so on and so forth. And therefore they can be easier to actually victimize through blackmailing and other things. Oftentimes the consequence of this is school related, and when we are talking about teenagers, there may be consequences. Males also suffer more from ex-intimate partner stalking. So if they have unstable female partners, sometimes they once they break up, this thing happens. Females has a higher victimization rate, perceive stalking as more harmful, females, and then face work and social consequences, not so much school related consequences, but work and social consequences of the psychological harm that is caused. So and their daily life may be disrupted and so on. So there would be functional problems. And then lifestyle disruption, they have to constantly look for coping measures, and therefore their life will be highly disrupted. Physiological, so sometimes they will have eating and sleeping disturbances. Again, this is a consequence of psychological harm. They might be very highly fatigued because they often are up all night and exhausted, and they might have severe sleep disorders. Psychologically, they will have emotional distress, social withdrawal, isolation, and account closure, increased suspicion, distrust in relationships. So these could be distrust in relationships. So these could be psychological effects. So even though it may be fun for somebody to actually stalk somebody, the consequences on the victim could be actually extremely severe. So now reporting, when you get cyber bullied or cyber stalked, many victims do not report because they find that first of all, they do not know what would be the consequences of reporting. Sometimes they became the victim by going into certain forums and so on, which they do not want to disclose. They often do not recognize the behavior of the other party as a cyber stalking, which is an offense. They think of this as an annoyance initially. Therefore they may initially think it is harmless, unworthy of reporting, but then when it starts getting very negative, very fearsome, very disturbing, then they actually may want to report, but then it may be too late because they think that they would be asked why they did not report it sooner. Fear of negative consequences, especially for students. This is the some of the reasons. Victims are likely to report when stalking is very long, like prolonged, and the relationship with the stalker was actually a previous close relationship. Then they tend to report, and because the threat is even more looming than in case of unknown stalker, and they often prefer informal or private resolution than going to law enforcement and protracted legal steps. So service provider intervention, like the ISP, you can complain to the ISP. ISP may agree to actually discontinue the account of the other person. That may not work for long, but it may actually give you immediate relief. They would like to avoid legal processes for many various reasons, social reasons, especially in India. Gender dynamics, cyber stalking by females is seen as more easily resolvable than by male. So that kind of stuff also plays a role in not reporting it to the police. So the coping strategies, usually, first of all, you try to avoid or ignore the stalker. You try to block him or her on social media, try to block on the messenger, WhatsApp, etc. And or you can avoid yourself going into social media, internet. You log out of social media, or suspend your accounts and so on. The other way of people coping is confronting. So they may confront the stalker, but usually that leads to worse situation, verbal aggression, pleading, defiance, and usually confrontation is the least effective way of coping, may worsen the risks. It may actually make the stalker even more bolder. Then seeking support. So you can talk to family and friends or partners or therapists, reporting to service provider or the police. Effectiveness also depends on the severity, resilience, and reporting system. Now, there may be a lot of it, in India, since the population is so large and there are so few police who are specialized in this kind of crimes. Oftentimes they do not get resolved, or they take a very long time to get resolved. Sometimes they are not even accepting the formal FIR, etc., because they do not want to work on it. So there are a lot of issues, practical issues there. Prevention strategies, you can, first of all, if you're not online, you cannot be cyber stalked, right? But in today's world, that is almost impossible. If you're a student in a school or college, etc., you cannot really not be online. But if you are going into forums or social media, etc., you try to avoid being with your real name, or even if you have the real name, you do not share too much personal information. Now, unfortunately, Instagram, Facebook, etc., has made us very, very open about our personal information. We give out too much information. We give out information about our kids. We give their pictures. We give information of our friends and their pictures. We give out our locations. We give out our daily habits, our sleeping habits, all kinds of stuff. This is very, very dangerous and getting more and more dangerous over time. So try to not be so open about your personal information, personal habits, personal daily routines and stuff. Recognize permanence and rapid spread of online disclosures. Remember, you might think that I'm just putting it out, and like a dance video or video of your drinking. One of my student this year got a scholarship in an US university, and then he got a visa interview. In the visa interview, they asked for his social media handles, and when they searched through the social media handles, the visa officer decided that this person is not going to be coming back to India or something, and therefore they did not give her a visa. So this can happen. That visa thing is unrelated to cyber stalking or bullying, etc. But the consequence of putting things out on the social media or online is that it is permanent. Even if you delete it, there are archives through which it can be found. Anything that goes online, the archive sites will actually record it. So you will actually, unless you delete it immediately, if you keep it even for 24 hours or even less, it may be actually recorded into an archive and people can find it. Cease contact immediately when somebody does an inappropriate communication. If somebody writes an inappropriate thing to you, you do not engage with them. You block them immediately. You do not do any kind of daring or any kind of protest and so on, because you do not, especially if you do not know the person, you do not know their nature, how it will escalate. Keep detailed records of the interaction. In case you eventually have to go to the police, you need to have the detailed record of the interaction. Report to the internet service provider, law enforcement, or school administration if the other person is also from the school. Adapt strategies as technology evolves. So technology evolves, AI-based things are happening and all that stuff. So you have to adapt accordingly and be more careful, because they may actually take your video and morph it with AI and show you in bad light, right? So you have to be very careful about who you share your videos or voice. They can do fake voice through AI and make you look like a fool or look like somebody you are not, and enhance the security protocols. So that is what some of the prevention strategies. So here is another story about Amanda Todd. So she also committed suicide, and she left a video before committing suicide. And the story is that she was a Canadian teenager born in 1996 in British Columbia. At the age of 12, while using online chat platforms, she was convinced to expose herself on webcam to some anonymous individual. So somebody talked her into it, which is actually illegal. It's a crime. It's a child pornography. It should not have happened. And she's a child, so she should not, nobody should have asked her to do such things. But then Amanda met strangers on video chat platforms after she was emboldened by this first incident. At age 12, a predator convinced her to flash topless on camera, and screenshot was taken and used later as a blackmail. So this is called sextortion. Now, this video in this case might be real, but in today's AI with the deepfake capabilities, even if you have not shown anything, they can actually create fake videos. So stop using video chat, etc., to unknown people or people who you cannot trust. So cyber stalking and harassment started when the predator stalked her online, then sent explicit photos to her family, friends, and school peers. And Amanda felt that she had lost all control over her reputation. Then in the real world, at school, since this became very public, she was mocked, labeled, isolated. She changed schools multiple times, but the harassment followed her digitally. And so she experienced both online bullying and offline bullying after this. So she got severe anxiety and engaged in self-harm, like cutting her hands and stuff. Attempted suicide at least once before her final death. She was hospitalized but continued to be targeted online. So this is extremely cruel behavior, but this is what happens when you engage with unknown people. So Amanda Todd died by suicide on October 10, 2012 at the age of 15, and her death sparked global debate on cyberbullying, sextortion, and mental health awareness. And the case led to worldwide awareness campaigns and stronger Canadian cyberbullying laws. Now, you see that impact of cyberbullying among kids. If you look at this, 41% reported that after being cyberbullied, they developed social anxiety. 37% said that they developed depression. So that is about one-third, more than one-third.
Sir, your screen is not presenting.
I don't know what is happening here.
No, sir, it's visible. It's visible.
So 2014, Dutch authorities arrested a guy called Aiden Coben, who was targeting Amanda and many other minors online. And it took 8 years to convict Coben in Canada. And he was convicted of child luring, possession, distribution of child pornography, and harassment related to Amanda Todd's case. So key learning is cyber stalking led to cyberbullying, led to suicide, a dangerous escalation. So if it goes all the way to suicide, we already saw in this graph that the consequences can be, less than suicide, but could be severe. And then if it is a suicide, then it is extreme escalation. Once you are online, harassment follows the victims across school, geography, and platform. So once somebody finds that you are weak, your weaknesses, and they start follow you around, it becomes an obsession for them. And early parental, school, and law enforcement intervention could have saved her. And there were legal gaps. It took 8 years to prosecute the predator, which means there were legal gaps that needed to be fixed. Now, in India, so you might think that, okay, so the cases that you are saying, you are talking about are one was in the US, one was in Canada. So that is not so, so much a problem. But unfortunately, we see this in India as well. In India, oftentimes people don't understand this as cyberbullying or cyber stalking, etc. But here are some cases. Like this was a guy who liked to do fashion makeover online. He was a social influencer, but because of he wanted to pose as woman, people started bullying him. Here is a case of a 14-year-old girl who died by suicide after alleged harassment by boy over Instagram. So here is a case like Manav Singh in Gurgaon. Online false allegation led to cyber harassment, led to suicide. 14-year-old girl in Hyderabad in 2025. Instagram harassment from a peer, in-person threats, suicide. Usmal Ullas, Kerala, Facebook cyberbullying, committed suicide. 20-year-old woman, friendship issue, Karnataka, WhatsApp harassment, suicide. 17-year-old girl with morphed images. This is use of AI. Morphed photos plus phone number posted, rumor, suicide. Athira, Kerala, 23, online shaming using chat history, photos, committed suicide. Makeover Josh, that the one that we talked about, influencer bullied for gender expression, suicide. These are some examples. There are, if you really look into this, there are hundreds of examples that we are making our kids face this. We are not able to intervene in time and we are losing them. So this is a very serious problem. It is not talked so much about in the newspapers and so on, but this is a very serious problem and it is increasing. So in Assam, there was a study. In Assam in 2022, there was a study, and 95% of the youth reported experiencing cyberbullying, leading to mental health consequences like stress, anxiety, and even physical injury. And some respondents reportedly had suicidal thoughts. So now you can imagine 95%, that is almost anybody who goes into the computer and a young man or woman, somebody has tried to bully them, right? And not everybody has equal mental resilience, and therefore even a soft bullying could actually affect somebody really badly. And then there was a 3-year longitudinal study in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, and there they saw significant rise in cyberbullying incidents, especially among female adolescents. Now, in UP and Bihar, the number is staggeringly low, like 3.8 to 6.4%. It's kind of puzzling, where Assam has 95%, here it is only 6.4%. It might have many different reasons. We are not going to go into that, but what the trend is clearly on the rise, right? So that's the point that we have to remember, not the exact percentage, because I don't think that these percentages were properly studied, or people did not come out and say that they were bullied, etc. So there could be various reasons, but the point is that this is happening now. These are states with very large number of population, right? So even 3.8% of that state could be very large. So it's not like some trivial matter. Now we are coming to what you should do in case you decide that you need help, and you need to also inform the police. So first thing is there is a portal, and everybody should know it's for all cybercrime, not necessarily just for this kind of thing. But if you go to cybercrime.gov.in and choose, there is drop-down menu, report woman and child-related crime for cyber stalking, cyber harassment, cyber bullying, etc. And anonymous complaints are possible for women and children. Now, you may be anonymous, but you have to tell if whatever you know about the other side, the one that is bullying you or harassing you or stalking you, their handle on social media, anything you know about them, or just link their profile in the report and things like that. You can also go to the local police or cyber cell. You can file an FIR at your nearest police station or cybercrime cell. Every district now in the country has a cybercrime cell, so you can go there. Even if the crime happened online, an FIR can be filed where you currently live. So you do not have to say that, okay, the attacker or the perpetrator is in Delhi and I am in Hyderabad, so therefore I have to go to Delhi. No, you can actually make this FIR in Hyderabad. There are also helplines. So if you do not have a computer or internet and you cannot go to cybercrime.gov.in, you can call 1930. This is a nationwide, everywhere in India. 1930 is the cybercrime helpline. So this will give you a cybercrime. You can report about the person, what is his or her handle, and things like that. You can also call 112. It's an emergency response. It may not work that well, but in case you feel emergency, you feel that you are suicidal or anything, you can go to 112. And 1091 is a woman's helpline that can also be used for help. Now, Indian laws. So you know that Indian Penal Code has recently been updated, and it is now called Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, BNS. So section 356 of BNS is about defamation. So if you actually somebody is spreading rumor or spreading morphed images or spreading any kind of images, intimate images, or your morphed IM, etc., you can actually go and make a case of defamation. But that's not the only case you can make. You can make multiple cases. For example, if somebody is blackmailing you with those things, then you can do defamation plus criminal intimidation. That is section 351 of BNS. Section 79 of BNS is insulting the modesty of a woman. So if you are a woman and somebody is trying to write something abusive about you, insulting your modesty, or if they are spreading fake pictures or real pictures which are insulting to your modesty, you can go for section 79. This is a serious section. Section 78 also is about stalking. So it doesn't distinguish between cyber stalking and real stalking, but you can also bring this charge against somebody who is doing cyber stalking. And section 75 is sexual harassment. So if somebody is being abusive about you in sexual terms and stuff, you can also go for sexual harassment. That is section 75. Now, on top of that, Information Technology Act can also apply. For example, section 66E is violation of privacy. So if you post somebody's private photos, then you are violating the privacy, and that can also bring in your section 66E. Similarly, publishing obscene and insulting material, section 67A and B, these sections will also apply. So say same person could be charged with, let's say, defamation, violation of privacy, publishing obscene and insulting material, sexual harassment, insulting the modesty of a woman in single FIR. So multiple sections may be actually charged. And then there is POCSO law, that is protection of children from sexual offenses. So section 11 and 12 is sexual harassment of a child. So if you are a teenager below 18, then that will also apply. And this is much more serious than even the upper ones. So you can actually, if you really go to the law enforcement, and if you have the record of all the IMs, the chats or comments, etc., you can actually really make a case and take the perpetrator to justice. Now, let's look at the role of all of us, the stakeholders in cyber harassment. So we form the society, and you, as tomorrow's citizens, you form the society. How bad or how good the society is depends on how you behave and how your children behave and so on. So it is actually everybody's responsibility to create a proper rule of engagement and proper rules of conducting oneself. You should not avoid the responsibility towards creating a better society, better environment for your own children and grandchildren and so on. So the importance of having a society, livable society, is on our own shoulders. So supportive parental involvement will help the victims cope with cyber stalking. So you keep a track of what your kids are going through, what they're doing, talk to them, and also try to figure out if they are being victimized or they are victimizing anybody. So you need parental support. So it negatively correlates with victimization and consequences. People whose parents are aloof, they tend to be more online, and therefore they tend to get closer to unknown people, and that's when they start getting victimized. So you have to be involved very much in your child's life. Reduce the risk of depression and poor academic performance. So parents' engagement with the kid, having, despite their busy schedule and so on, or is very important, because if it doesn't happen, then those kids tend to be depressed and doing poorly in academics and so on. And also parental involvement encourages the adolescents to report such incidents and express fears. If they're aloof from the parents, then they will never tell the parents that this kind of things are happening until it becomes really, really escalated. So now the online service providers, they have internet service providers, they have a role. So they have ethical responsibility to enforce the digital communication norms. They should have access to critical user data to identify offenders and assist victims to avoid further harassment. And they can introduce countermeasures such as refusing service to those who are offenders, who have been reported as offenders, and also developing and enforcing anti-cyber stalking policies. The police and law enforcement also has a role. If they do not take cognizance of these offenses, if they do not take FIR, if they do not act on the FIR, if they do not take the perpetrator to justice all the way to conviction, then the society as a whole will stop worrying about the law enforcement as well as trusting the law enforcement. So as a law enforcement agency, one has to make sure that cybercrime laws or other criminal acts, the BNS Act, BNS sections, are upheld in each of these cases. They should know how to use digital evidence, trace online activities, and collect actionable proof, provide guidance and protection to victims, helping them report, and safely and preventing more harassment. Work with the ISPs, the internet service providers, to request user data legally for investigation and to enforce the takedown of harmful content. They should conduct awareness campaigns to educate the public about this cyberbullying, online harassment, safe digital practices, and initiate timely legal action against offenders, facilitate restraining orders or other protective measures where necessary. So role of police, role of law enforcement is very important, because if you do not have this fear of consequence by the perpetrator, or if they do not have empathy, then they will do cyberbullying, cyber stalking, etc. If they have empathy, they will not do it anyway. So if they do not have empathy, then they will only fear. They will only have fear that to stop them, and that is where the role of law enforcement comes in. Now, community and educational measures, digital literacy campaign for safe practices. So before you let your child to be online for too long, give them a good understanding of what not to do, what to do, and what they can do, what kind of things they should be worried about, this kind of stuff. cyber safety curriculum in schools and universities that must become mandatory. The NGO government collaboration for awareness campaigns is required, and encouraging bystander intervention online. So other online people who in the forums who watched things happening to these kids that we talked about did not intervene, and that is not good. So there should be bystander intervention. So people should tell their kids, and teachers should tell their students that this can have very, very bad consequence on the life of the children for life, not necessarily only when this thing is happening. This can actually have very, very long, long effect. So therefore, everybody has a responsibility, and that should be understood. So conclusion is that cyber stalking and cyberbullying exploit the anonymity and impersonal nature of cyberspace. Therefore, people do a lot more harmful things, say a lot more harmful and hurtful things that they would not have probably said in a physical space. So that is a big problem. And in India, there is a very strong IT sector, lot of digital literacy, lot of internet access. Kids have internet access and smartphones, but we have very limited victim support. So we need more legal reform, especially call out cyberbullying, cyber stalking, etc. in the laws, which currently the laws I showed you, they are indirectly can be used for this kind of crimes, but they are not direct. There is no direct law addressing them. We need more technology safeguards for when you put your children in the internet. You have to use the technology safeguards, and as I said, awareness. There is no substitute for awareness, and this kind of seminar that we are doing today, I think this should happen more and more, police officers and others, teachers, etc., should also come forward for this kind of awareness seminars. And also people should talk about it at home with their children, their relatives and friends, very, very in a very detailed way, because this is going to increase as we are getting more and more digital and more internet-based society. So this is very important. So let's fight cyberbullying, cyber stalking together, and understand that the consequences, even though it might seem rather funny or rather light, but actually it is not, and it can have very dire consequences. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an incredibly informative and eye-opening session. Your insights have certainly sparked a lot of thought among our attendees. Sir, we have prepared quiz questions as poll. If you allow me, we can take it now or after the question and answer session.
And let's do the question and answer session. You can do the quiz after that.
Sure, sir. Now we would like to open the floor for the question and answer session. If you have a question, please feel free to drop it in the chat box and we will take them one by one.
So I see some questions already in the chat. So let me see if I can answer some of them. There is a lot of things. So best lesson of world is learned in the classroom. Demo of world reality. I don't know what that means. So what Indian government is taking concrete steps in Ryan-like cases, as these are becoming culture in India also. USA or Indian government are taking steps. So no. So other than the fact that there are enough law in BNS and IT Act that could be used for bringing charges against perpetrators, but there are sometimes people are using anonymity. They are using hiding behind anonymity enhancing networks like Tor or VPN and so on. So there are sometimes, if it is coming from anonymous sources, sometimes it is not even easy to actually pinpoint who they are, where they are located, etc. So sometimes the law enforcement might actually fail to bring justice to the victim, and that should not happen. And we should enhance our ability to do this kind of investigation, forensic investigation, and so on. So So that is the thing that we need to do more. Now,
Sir, can I say something?
yeah,
Like,
so,
sir, actually, yeah, actually, sir, actually, our population is a menace to the cybercrime culprits and the police also, sir, because police want to, law enforcement agencies want to solve the cases, but they cannot able to solve due to the population size, sir. Actually, these are
no, so I'll tell you what, yesterday I was talking to the Hyderabad, the Telangana Police Cybersecurity Director General. She's very accomplished police officer who has done a lot of work on cybercrime solving. She was saying that the numbers are staggering. Number of cybercrime cases are staggeringly high. A lot of them are actually financial frauds. These kind of cases are not as many as financial frauds because, as you might have read, that there are 22,000 crore rupees were defrauded last year in India by cybercrime. Now, compared to that, the number of incidents in which people do insurance fraud and the task frauds or matrimonial fraud, pig butchering fraud, and so on and so forth. Compared to that, this cyberbullying, cyber stalking are unreported. Most of the cases, very few cases are unreported. So it is very difficult, to solve all the cases. And oftentimes, if somebody has lost a few crores, and then the police gets very busy with that case, and then there are very few police officers who are trained in, solving these cases. So therefore, as you said, that because of this large population, these kind of cases are often put into, back burner. But what I'm trying to say here is that this kind of cases, even if it is happening in two very small, population, but for those population, those kids on whom this things is happening, their life gets completely ruined. Sometimes, even if they don't commit suicide, which has happened in the past, as we saw many cases in India also. I had this table where I showed number of suicide cases. But in case, if it's not suicide, it can have very, very bad impact on their personal, psychology and all that stuff for long. So I think that this has to be taken very seriously. And as you said, if the law enforcement is the last resort. But before that, if the parents can intervene, teachers can intervene, people can be made aware, people can be made to understand when they are being bullied and stalked and know how to get out of that thing very quickly. This kind of stuff will actually help a lot. So I think that there is law enforcement is one thing, but the other thing is to have awareness and have proper intervention. Now here I see Dr. Meenakshi has said that the cyberbullying happens mostly in the US only. In our country, almost all parents take a lot of care about their children and what they are doing. Now, this is not true, as you can see in the table I showed you. I had a table of cases which are only a tip of the iceberg. So it is not true that all Indian parents are able to handle how their children are behaving online or how they are getting victimized and so on. Now, of course, in US, parents are rather less involved in their kids' lives. It is true the Indian parents are more involved. But it also depends on how busy the parents are and stuff like that. So it is not necessarily true that Indians are not victimized on this, but maybe the number of cases is smaller than this one. If you know everything, ma'am, why are you okay? So that is a different thing. The same thing happened with me. So some Ariba is saying there was a guy who stalked online, offline, then complained to his parents to leave me alone. Now, if you know the parents and if you can actually get justice from the parents, then it is good, right? So if you can stop it. But oftentimes, if the stalker is older, parents may not work. So it is good that in this case probably parental intervention stopped it. But unfortunately, the many cases it is not possible. Sometimes they are very far. You cannot reach the parents. You do not know the parents, and so on. So in that case, you have to take help of law enforcement or something. You don't have to take or give anything to anti-corruption here. We are all students. Okay. can regulate for their user using data. In Noida and Delhi, NCR, I think it is more often than USA. Okay, so so there may be other cases. So one of the main factor behind being online is either loneliness or social connection. Common factor is trust, and this trust is also a factor used behind the cyber harassment. Furthermore, the motive of the people is also important factor. May you give some suggestion to identify the limits of trust? So in online forums or social media, lesser you share, better your chances are from avoiding any kind of harassment. Now, harassment may not be always very going to the level of bullying and cyber stalking, but there will be some harassment. Somebody will write a very negative comment on your picture or something, and those things may escalate. So sharing less is obviously better, but then of course today's teens, they like to share on Instagram and so on. They have there are influencers. Everybody wants to be influencer and so on, and so therefore you have to know your own mental resilience. If you see the social media influencers, many of them are very young, teenagers and so on. They have a very high resilience to abusive comments. They often joke about such comments. They often do things. So if you are able to handle these things, without getting mentally or psychologically harmed, then share. But if you feel that you have to know yourself a lot more than just doing these things blindly and then putting out information, intimate pictures and so on, and then get the consequences may not be very good. How should we delete any file in such a way that it cannot be found later in the Internet archives? So that is a very difficult one, because Internet archives are maintained by other countries, people in other countries or organizations in other countries. So even if you try to get a takedown, it is very difficult, especially if that particular archive is not being maintained or having any presence in your country. Even the judges in the country might not be able to force them to take down. So therefore, it is you have to assume that it is impossible, and therefore be very deliberate, very considerate about what you put out on the internet, because don't assume that you should be able to get rid of it by using judgments from the courts or by law enforcement or by other means. So my personal experience, law enforcement are a joke. They are present only to serve politicians. Well, so Chandan Kumar, I think that maybe some of these things are true, but don't be so cynical, because hopefully I have met very good police officers in cybercrime offices and bureaus who are very good, who care about people and so on. So I do not think that it is universally the case. Feedback form. Okay, so how can we identify difference between harmless online curiosity and harmless stalking behavior? Right, so online curiosity and online stalking behavior, this requires some kind of a understanding of the other person. If the person is curious about you, but you do not know the person, do not give out too much information. You do not know, even if you like them because of their picture or something, maybe that picture is fake. Maybe you think that is of somebody of your age, maybe they are like 20 years older than you. In internet, do not trust anybody, and do not give any information that you wouldn't give to a person you do not trust very, very, very highly. So that is the thing, right? So if there's somebody is curious, try to understand, who they are, why they are, and why they are asking these questions and so on before giving out any information.
Thank you for answering my question, sir.
Sure. So given the availability of online information in social media, free availability of the law, can the AI be able to alarm not only perceived victim but also parents? Yes. Yeah.
Sir,
So
sir, I have a doubt, sir. Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
no, just
Sir,
let
yes,
me finish this. So the Raktim Kundu is saying that can AI help? Now I have talked to a guy who has created an app. That app will listen to all your chats and all your phone conversations and use AI to tell you that this conversation is going in the wrong direction. You might be victimized and so on. But that kind of an app has to be very, very intrusive. It has to listen to everything that happens on your phone or on your computer. Now if you want, you can compromise your privacy to give that app an access to everything, and they may alert you, but it is also going to listen to everything that is harmless, from this point of view, but that may be something related to your office work or something that you do not want to be recorded or something. So you have to be careful, balance privacy versus safety. So AI can help, but when AI will help, AI will also be listening to everything, because from before AI cannot know which one is harmful, which one is not, so it has to listen to everything or read everything. So that is the main problem that you will feel in this case. If you use AI, you can use AI, if you do not care so much about that, protecting everything that you do online. And the teacher here is saying that the zero trust must be the policy online, and I completely agree with him or her. I don't know who she is, but zero trust should be the policy. You do not trust anybody online, even if they pretend to be your friend, or even if it is a friend's ID, because you do not know if somebody has actually hacked into their account and trying to interact with you, right? So until you completely be sure that it is the friend that you think it is, you should not share too much information with them. Dr. Meenakshi, you have a question? Dr. Meenakshi?
yes, sir. What I think is the girls are not very much interested to explain the problem to their parents or teachers or like that, sir, because they may feel that if they say that such sort of cyberbullying is happening, the parents may stop them to go to schools or stop their education or ask them to sit at home, sir. And secondly, also, sir, even if they change their block the number or anything else, the cyberbullying, whoever are doing is, they may again continue the same from another number, sir. So right now, even now, when I was in the class, I mean, when I was in the session, somebody was cyberbullying me also, sir. So there is no limit at all, sir. Can you identify which is more among the males or the females, sir? Or is it the same in both the cases, sir?
No, so I think you're right that if we have it's a matter of how you interact with the kid. The kid thinks that your immediate response to such fears or such incidents will be to stop you from going to internet or using the internet and so on. Then they will certainly hide. So parents have to also be properly made aware of how to handle these things. Parents should not be like doing such drastic things, because then these parents will not be able to handle this kind of thing. So parents' education is going to be very important, and those who are kids now will become parents in the future, and they have to remember this, right? The second thing that you said is that when you block somebody, they may come to another ID or another phone number. This happens, and this is something that needs to be reported. So if somebody is doing that, that means they are really stalking. Earlier, the first time you might think that they are just being friendly and stuff, but when somebody does that after being blocked, then it is a real stalking, and you certainly should go to the law enforcement. At least do a anonymous complaint to the cybercrime.gov.in by giving those numbers and so on. The third thing that you said is that whether it's boys or the girls, I do not have the data right now. I haven't, my student hasn't done that survey or research, So it is very, it is not, I cannot really give you a percentage or who are more victimized or who are more perpetrator. So whatever I say will be unsupported by data. So maybe in the future we'll do some research and then we can probably provide such data.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, Aradhya, I have to go. I have another meeting. People are waiting, but you
Sure.
can continue the quiz, and so that this thing can be done.
Yes, sir. As we draw the curtain in today's session, it's aimed to pause and extend our deepest gratitude. First, a sincere thank you to our guest speaker, Professor Dr. Sandeep K. Shukla sir, for delivering such an eye-opening and thought-provoking session. Next, I want to thank every single participant who joined us today, whether you are a student, a professional, or someone simply curious to learn. Your presence here matter. Sessions like these aren't just events on a calendar; they are a reminder that knowledge is our first line of defense. And when we come together like this, we are not just learning; we are building something stronger, a more aware, a more resilient society. Before we officially close, a quick reminder: please wait for 7 minutes. There will be 15 questions on poll format. Please wait. Participants, we request you to please wait for the poll question.
Savita, there is a option just nearby your chat, 9 dots. You can click on it. You'll find all the whole question.
Yes, I got it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Ma'am, can I exit?
Yeah, you can. Once again, thank you all for joining and for your active participation in today's session. Let's take inspiration from Professor Dr. Sandeep K. Shukla's sir message. Remember, protecting yourself and others from online harm isn't just about technology. It's about vigilance, empathy, and community. Reach out for help, support each other, and never hesitate to report abuse. Stay safe, keep learning, and know that together we are stronger against cyberbullying and online threats. Have a great evening.